Okay.
All right. All right. 3. Hey, yo, it's your boy Sam Duke.
Hey, it's your man, McKell.
Now I'm Joe Duke.
And you are listening to another episode of You Good?
You Good, bro.
Yes, sir. Another episode.
We are back.
We back one more time, and we're doing some really cool stuff today. I'm really excited about this conversation that we're gonna have today. We have Justina Victoria, the sexpert, the sex therapist.
Ow. Let's talk about sex, baby.
Yes. And before we even get started, I would like for Justina to just kind of, say hello to the show and just tell people what it is that you do, what got you in the game, and what brought you to us,
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I'm super this is what I live for, having these conversations. So I'm very, very happy to be here with you guys. Yeah, so people call me sexpert or sex therapist or whatever, but actually I'm either I go by men's sex coach or psychosexual expert for men. I work with men and couples. And what got me into it was I was actually in a sexless marriage, and I had always been fascinated by the mysteries of love and sex. And always sort of weirdly drawn to the masculine. I've always just every best friend I ever had was a guy, literally from preschool age. And I just always felt really comfortable and safe with masculine energy. And when I went through my sexless marriage, I was doing all this research, and there was just and this was only not even that long ago, maybe 6-7 years ago at this point, and there was just nothing. There was nothing out there to help me figure out why I had zero sexual desire. And I ended up it was kind of a weird transition period in my life where I had always wanted to be a doctor, and I was in school. I was I had a really successful career at that point, and I was in school paying to become a doctor. And I just was at this weird place where I was I don't do I really want this much debt? I don't know what I'm doing right now. And I ended up stumbling across my teacher. Her name's Layla Martin. She's one of the top 4 sex, love, and relationship coaches in the world. And it was just kind of this magic thing that happened where she was just opening her school, which was the Tantric Institute of Integrated Sexuality, and essentially educating, giving an education on sex coaching. And I saw that, and I was just oh my God, it was just a lightning bolt. I was this is what I want to do with my life. And Layla's platform is totally different from mine. So it was all women. There was 150 of us in the first graduating class. And Layla's very sex positive. She wants to change the world around sex, but she runs on a female platform, female sexual empowerment. It's all about women. And she had a tiny little thing on men, and I was just that was our education on men. What's going on here?
We never matter, huh? Men never matter, huh?
Never.
They put us on the back burner.
Back burner, yeah. And so I was kind of all right. So I got out of school, and I was I really, really want to work with men, and my education is really lacking. So I just started interviewing men. I started researching, and I just started doing everything I possibly could, and working with clients for free just to understand and I had this kind of ability to really understand the male psyche, I think, naturally from spending so much time with men my whole life, that I was able to sort of mirror men and understand them, because I was sort of seen as a safe person to the guys in my life. They could come and talk to me about their vulnerabilities and know that they wouldn't be judged. So that was kind of already there. And then once I started, it was just, that was it for me. Once I started working with men full time, I was just don't care. There's plenty of support for female sexual pussy power, whatever. Have fun. You've got plenty of it. I don't need to be worried about that. And my job here is to help bring the male suicide rate down, which is 4 times higher than females.
Right.
Because men are tits.
Men are what?
Yeah, men are tense.
Yeah.
Sexually frustrated. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Yeah. And then that is exactly my point. And that is the approach that I'm taking, is that men have been like, which is so insane to me. Like every time I say this, I'm like, does this even make sense? Because like there's only, well, according to like most people, there's only two genders, right? So like you can be a man or a woman, and I guess you could be things in between, but like really, like who is pushing men to the side? Like we all, like men and women, there's just two of us, right? So like what are we doing? And it kind of like blows my mind every time I say that. But like men are, like you said, pushed to the side, put on the back burner. There's no support, there's no help for them. It's just like, hey, pretend like you don't have emotions, and then like when something inevitably horrible happens to you that you can't emotionally numb, just like kill yourself. That's it. Like that's your option as a man.
I'm,
And
I'm,
so mhm.
I just sitting here listening to you. It's like there's so many places we can
Oh,
go.
I know.
Like
I know. I know.
it's just so much. But just focusing on on the male sexual confidence and the way that we express ourselves sexually, I think that a part of that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is because we're pushed. We're kind of pushed into the sexual arena, more earlier, and people are just like, go out there, go forth and conquer the world.
Right. Spread your
Yeah,
seed.
and
Yeah.
Oh, your
and in a way, sometimes we're tasked with teaching women, about sex, because everybody automatically assumes that the man is, more sexually active and more sexually free, and it gets to the point where maybe it's like we don't take a step back and say, hey, look, I really didn't learn what I like, what I don't like. I really didn't learn, how to pivot when things don't go the way that I want it to go. I really didn't learn, you know, how to really interact with women in a way that we can, we can have sexual, we can have a long lasting sexual type of relationship that is positive for a long period of time. It's like there's nothing out there about that at all. And so,
Yeah.
what
Or learning that sex is an experience of connection and creating secure attachments versus a performance. Like I tell all my clients, like, you're not memorizing lines and you're not going on stage. Like, this is not a performance. This is an experience of connection, a moment by moment unfolding of yes to pleasure. That's it. Like, that's all that's happening. And it's this idea that like you said, you have to like already know your lines by age 12.
Yeah, 13, 14.
And you
It's like,
better teach those lines. Yeah, you better teach those lines to your woman. And like it's like you miss the point. So like most of the guys that I work with, all of the guys that I work with are like their experience of sex is like or self-pleasuring is just like I watch porn or I fantasize. And that's it. And like sex is like a spectrum. Like pleasure is a spectrum that is so gigantic that you wouldn't even be able to experience all that there is to experience in this life.
So let
So
me ask you a
you're right
question.
about that.
So let me
Mhm.
ask you one. Are your clients seeking you, or like how are you getting clients? Because for me as a therapist, people come to see me and they'll come to one therapy session and they're like, oh, I'm great. Thanks, doc. Like, what is it? Because honestly, in your realm, I didn't even learn what a safe word was until I was in my 30s. Like, and I had been obviously active. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. That's kind of vain. But I was, I didn't learn until like late 30s that there was such a thing as a safe word. And so what makes your clients find you, or how do they, like, what are they going through to find you? Like, what is their, I
My
don't want to call it
clients
trauma, but
usually, what do they go through? So I think they're fed up. I would say most of the clients I work with, they're fed up with what I like to call like men's epidemic of failure, right? So like
Mm.
the way that I kind of put it is like when you're a little boy, society is like, okay, so you've got these vital needs of like love, safety, and belonging. And the only way to achieve this ability to be loved and to belong is that you have to be seen as a man, right? And here are the qualifications: be physically strong, fuck a lot of women, and be emotionally avoidant. there's no measuring these, by the way. Like,
Right.
how do you know if you fucked a lot of women, enough women to be considered a man, right? So there's no, you can't measure this. So reaching this pinnacle of being a
When
man
you
is super
die
vague.
and all the women come to your funeral.
But again, it's like, okay, but how many women are there supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
Even
like,
if you have
what's the
100,
number?
is that enough? Like, is it enough to be considered a man, right?
Like there's only
So-
5 women here for you, Joe. He wasn't a man.
He
I'm
never
sorry,
made it.
Justin,
He
go
never
ahead.
made it. He never made it. So like this is what I call like this loop of masculine conditioning that guys get stuck on, and it causes failure. So like that's all you can do is fail. If you have no way to measure being a man, which, and then this is a whole nother topic that I'm just like, you were born as a man. So like I use this comparison of like being a water bottle. It's like taking this thing, literally having a panic attack over being a water bottle, and it's like, you are a water bottle. Like there's no trying to be what you already are. You are already that. And so that's like what's happening for men, is like they're like, I have to be a man, I have to be a man, I have to be a man. It's like, you are a man. Like just live, just like experience life. And so they get caught up in trying to like meet these criteria so that they then can receive love and belonging. But if you practice your whole life being emotionally numb, you can't receive the love and belonging once you make it to being a man. And then you get stuck in a loop of never getting your needs met. So your nervous system is always dysregulated forever and ever. So you are in a constant state of perceived failure. So that's the first part. The second part is like, I like to use Santa Claus as a great example, because like if you're a little boy and you came into the world and everyone was like, you have to be just like Santa Claus to be loved and belong, right? You know where Santa Claus lives, you know what he wears, you know what he eats, you know who he's married to, you know what his mission in life is, you know what his, you know, like who he employs, on and on and on, right? You know exactly, there's a blueprint for Santa Claus. So if you wanted to be Santa Claus, you could measure that. You could literally model your life after Santa Claus and be like, I have succeeded or failed. But to be like, be a man, here are 3 vague qualifications. Men are literally walking around feeling like they are not good enough 24/7. And then on top of that, you've got all this other shit where it's like feminism and don't, like, I'm not even gonna go into that, but like, you know, you open the door for a woman and you're a creep. You don't open the door for a woman, you're an asshole. Like you're just wrong all the time, like forever. So
right.
I think all the time you're just wrong. And so I think that the guys that I work with, they come to me when they have just really exhausted all options, and they're like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with my life that like I can't make a commitment, or my dick won't function, or like, you know, like the doctor's telling me that like I have permanent ED, when really like this guy got his heart broken 10 years ago, and like he really feels not good enough, and he's had experiences that have reflected that belief over and over again, you know. And it's just like, where is the compassion? So I would say that the guys that I work with, they find me, I'm really like a last resort, because I think that I'm my work is very, very rare. I know one other men's sex coach that like I went to school with, maybe 2, and or 3. Like I would say, like on one hand I can count the women who are doing this work, but it's like last resort, absolutely. And it's by accident, because they don't know it even exists.
Okay, when you get into the man always feeling like it's wrong, something popped into my head, and it's real vulgar, but I don't give a damn. We're gonna get into it, right? So you're talking about like a man not being able to get it up, and you know that blame goes on the man, right? When you can't get it up, the woman's gonna talk to you about her friends. You're gonna hit the group me, you know, they're gonna be talking shit about you, whatever. Now, on the reverse, right? Let's just say a woman just can't get it quite, you know, right down there. They blame that on the man. They're like, that means you're not doing your job because it works. You know, that's what I've heard several times, whether it be, you know, via social media, real life experiences. Like, nah, if you can't get it, you know, wop down there and the water faucet moving, it's on you. And it's
Right.
like, but
Do something.
Like,
Do something.
make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. Like, if it's my fault if it don't get up, then what is not your fault if it don't, if it's like the desert. Okay, well, we're just trying to get into it, right?
Yeah. So what's going on with this is what I like to refer as the inability to understand what's true for you in both people. So like, we have a responsibility when we're creating relationships with others, whether it's a one night stand or a deeply secure attachment with somebody, to know, first of all, know what's true for us deep within our being, and to be able to communicate that, which is what I call full expression. And because we are taught to not hurt other people's feelings, or to tiptoe around things because we might be rejected or not belong by saying certain things, we really have disconnected from what's true for us. So in my opinion, truth comes from a really deep grounded place in the body. It is a feeling of like knowledge, just a feeling of knowing and wisdom that comes from a place of nervous system regulation. When you're in fight or flight, when your nervous system is dysregulated, that is fear-based thinking, and logic itself actually goes out the window. And so most of us move from a place of fear. We get overwhelmed with the voice that comes up when we're in fight or flight, which is really fucking loud, and it drowns out the quiet whisper of our heart. And so most people don't know what's true for them because they've been living in fight or flight their entire lives, and they think the voice that comes up all day, every day, that's like, you're a piece of shit, you're not good enough, like no one's ever gonna love you, or hey, you should stay at this job for the rest of your life because like you can't do better. They think that that's what's true, and actually it's not. The truth is such a deep, quiet whisper that it takes time and practice to reconnect to that. And then you have to practice not only connecting to that, deciphering what's true for you and like being in alignment with that, but also communicating that, like being really fully expressed in that. So when we go back to the example of like a guy who can't get it up and a woman who's not wet, right? The guy, and this is like the number one thing I work with my guys, is understanding what's true for them, because this is what everything is based on. Let's go back to the example of the guy who has ED because he's heartbroken, right? He is not getting the message, but what he's doing is going into fear and saying, oh my God, there's something wrong with my dick, what's happening? And that conditioning is then like, if your dick doesn't work, you have zero value in society, like zero. And so then he perpetuates that because now he's so hyper focused on being able to get it up that he can't, which is what I call paradoxical intention. And he stresses his nervous system out because there's no erection happening. Like there's no reproductive capability in fight or flight. Like that's not the time for sex. That's the time to run or fight. Right. Exactly. Right. And so we have that. So like if a man is not getting it up, he needs to understand what's true for him and be able to communicate that. For us as women, we've been conditioned to believe that if a man is not getting it up, our value is attached to that. Okay, so like he doesn't love us. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not turning him on enough, right? And if he can't communicate why that's really happening for him, maybe he isn't attracted to her, right? But if he can't communicate that, then she's going to start with her conditioning now, right? As far as being responsible for her wetness, this is where like I'm not going to go like too crazy into this, but like women really lack responsibility. You know, they're on this train of like, we've been oppressed for thousands of years.
We need details. Sorry.
No, look, Joe's not gonna let you off the hook with that one.
Yeah, yes, you can go into that.
I don't want to piss people off, but like,
no.
I'm so sick.
This is the form to piss them off.
Oh my God. So I went through the whole like feminism thing, and like I was like, yeah, pussy power, and like I still am, but I'm actually like masculine and feminine power. We need both. We need balance. We need to honor each other, not rip each other apart. And like, it's insane. Like it's just, so, you know, women need to take responsibility for the fact that we put so much pressure, and we have this idea that like And we both perpetuate it, men and women. Men believe that their job is to make a woman happy. And if they can't do that, then they're failures.
Right.
And women believe that it's a man's job to make them happy. And if they don't, then they're a failure. Like it's insane. So like everything is so pressurized around men. Like, and one thing that I really like to highlight is that we talk about female safety all the time. Like we talk about like, how safe does a woman feel? Oh God, can she wear a short skirt without anybody touching her ass? You know, like hashtag me too. And it's like, you know how many of my clients feel unsafe in life? Like they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere that makes them feel like they have a soft place to land. And we never, I mean, I cannot tell you a single instance that I have ever come across where somebody was talking about how safe men feel. Like it's just assumed. You have muscles. You're safe.
Right.
Like,
And
it's
muscles,
insane.
you're safe.
Yo,
You're
I
safe.
think we're the only place that's
You're
talked
bigger than
about men being safe.
wow.
Safe
No,
spaces
but that's
for
what
us,
this
but
is about. It's
I
about
haven't
a
heard
safe
it
space
anywhere
for
else.
men.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's,
That's it.
Yes.
I mean, we know, and the funny thing is that she's talking about it, and I reflect on it. It really is true. I mean, everything points back to us failing, but we don't have anywhere close to the support structures that you would see for the women in our lives. Like the world revolves around us to some degree, but what is it worth without a woman, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's how we're raised. It's like, yeah, you run the world, guys, but what is it worth if you don't have a woman? So, your mother, I'm thinking of other important women in your lives that help critique and shape your definition as a man. It comes directly from women. It's like, I honestly, I'm trying to think, when did I ever have a man conversation about being a man?
Never.
Mhm.
And you know, as
And
you
it's not
speak,
a,
she's giving a lot of gems. Justina,
yeah.
you giving so many gems. Like you made me go back to when I first lost my virginity.
Oh,
First,
Lord.
I lied about my virginity being taken away to be cool. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then like when you think about it, I was never taught to like deeply connect like internally with the woman or internally with myself. I was just taught to be just super physical. Because you said something a couple minutes ago when you was talking about how men we don't even enjoy sex really to its fullest capacity because we don't know the other capabilities, the other triggers we might have. Like when I think to myself, like as an adult now, older, being more experienced sexually, when I have sex, I'm just gonna be very open and intimate with everybody. Cool. When I have sex, I would like you kiss the back of your girl's neck, and then she's like, oh, I'd be like, kiss my back of my neck. I want to see what that does to me too. Let me see what that
I want to feel that cold. Go ahead.
I
Oh.
know. And sometimes I think like I should also be working with women because like they're really lacking in the BJ game. They're really lacking in the ability to like give pleasure to men because they
Yeah.
think like men just want to penetrate them and that's it. And it's like, no,
Right.
guys want to also have the experience of
Yeah.
receiving. It's a weird place to be in it because I'm like,
My
yeah. I
nipples work
want to teach
too.
somebody to kiss the back of your neck.
Mhm.
yo,
Kiss
My nipples work too. My nipples work.
Joe,
They
My
work.
nipples work
They
too.
there. That's what they there for. Go.
That's what they
Come
do. Lick mines too.
on. Right.
no.
I couldn't agree more.
Let's take it to the all right. We talked about the side of like underperforming. What about the overperforming? What about the hypersexual? So is there such thing as like do you deal with those type of men that are like sex addicts or sex craved or overly,
Yeah. So it's a starvation. It's all the same thing. It's just a manifestation of the same thing, right? And I
Mhm.
don't believe in there's definitely people out there who will disagree with me, but I don't believe in calling people love addicts or sex addicts. I don't really even believe in codependency because the fact of the matter is like our brains are hardwired for co-regulation. We are pack animals. Our vagus nerve literally regulates. There's something called proximity. Like we need to be in proximity of others because our nervous system regulates. Like we literally go into a state of rest and digest and healing and growing when we are with a tribe. And so we are hardwired. A baby will die if it's not picked up. You can feed it, you can change it, it will die because it literally cannot regulate the overwhelming emotions that it is feeling if it's not held. And we never grow out of that. So to me, when somebody's like, you're a love addict, you're codependent, you're a sex addict, I'm like, okay, well, like, it's a vital need. These are vital needs. We need physical touch. We need to feel loved. We need to feel belong. Like, these are vital for our health and well-being and our existence. They're hardwired into the brain. So like, if somebody ate 3 meals a day every day and was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with eating, would you be like, wow, you have an eating disorder? No, you would be like, yeah, that makes sense because you need to eat to live. And it's the same thing when it comes to like this idea of codependency and this idea of sex addiction and love addiction. These are all just manifestations of being starved or being taught that you are not capable of having secure attachments. So you become like you were just saying, Sam, like you become like hyperdrive on that. Like, I need it because like it's gonna go away. And like you're so afraid, your body's so afraid of being isolated again or abandoned again, that it's like, I have to have like a constant supply of this 24/7. And that speeding up, it's the stress response. That's all that is. So like that addiction, that need to like, I gotta get my hands on this, I gotta have sex, is literally a manifestation of a dysregulated nervous system, which comes from starving for your vital needs. And that's it. And like trauma, right? So like experiences in your life that have taught you that you're either not good enough to have secure attachments or that they're not available to you in some way. So I'm very like against teaching people that they have some kind of addiction, even like when it comes to alcohol and drugs. Like, these are traumatized people. Like, they're not addicts, they're traumatized, and they need to understand how to meet their vital needs in a healthy way, because alcohol and drugs literally just numb the constant nervous system dysregulation and stress response that's happening in their body. That's all it is. It's covering up the constant stress response. So I have a bit of like a stronger opinion when it comes to that. And I argue like with one of my best friends, because like he dated an alcoholic and he's just like all the time he's like, you don't understand. And I'm like, no, I do understand. Like, I know that you don't agree, and like we always want to blame everything on addiction, but like it's simply not true. Like, these people are not getting their vital needs met based on traumatic experiences in their life, and they haven't been taught how to do that. And so like when it comes to secure attachment, like we live in a really defensive society. And that comes from having this sort of disintegration around tribe life. Like, you have two parents. Some people have one parent. Some people have no parents, right? And that's what they come into this world in. And then they're floating around hoping somebody will literally co-regulate with them. And people are like, God, you're so needy. What is wrong with you? Meanwhile, those people are also starving. Like, it's insane. So there's like this, it's a scale of dysregulation, right? So on one end, and we can even put like this masculine conditioning loop is it has the same outcome, right? So like there's guys who take the masculine conditioning, those vague qualifications that I was talking about earlier, like, and they live by that to a T, right? They use steroids to be super strong, they fuck tons of women, and they're super emotionally avoidant, and they connect to like the emotions of like anger, those hardened emotions, right? And that's where they live. And then they get into a relationship and their brain's like, yeah, I'm loved, I belong, right? And the woman is like, I just really want to connect with you. Like, I want to feel your heart, I want to feel your vulnerability, because that's what creates sexual polarity, right? And he's sitting there like, what are you talking? Like, he literally cannot understand. He's like, I'm sitting next to you. How much closer can we be? And then the relationship eventually ends because she can't break through that barrier, right? And then you've got guys on the opposite end who are like, I don't want anything to do with this toxic masculine loop, right? And I'm just totally, I'm not even going to live that way. Heart is on the sleeve. I'm super vulnerable. And like, violence and anger oh no, we're not even going to go there. Like that's not even part of who I am. And oh, you're a woman, oh my god, I agree with absolutely everything you say, and I'm a total feminist. Like, oh my god, everything you say is like law and amazing, and like please love me, and like let's never have conflict because like I can't handle conflict, right? And then so in that relationship, the woman is so repulsed by having to be in her masculine all the time and leading and directing this like wet noodle of a man, that relationship ends. So it's this really interesting thing where I like to say, like, what I call the guy in the middle who's integrated into his deep masculine essence and his vulnerability, his feminine side, is an aligned man, right? Like, he's not a nice guy and he's not an asshole. He's just aligned with his truth, and he lives from that place, and he's fully expressed from that place.
Balance.
Extra question, Justina. Could we hear some techniques that you use just for the listeners? Like some techniques you may like give to some men in order for them to like get deeper and connected to themselves? You know, like what are some techniques that you give to some? Not trying to give all your sauce away, but
no, I want to give it all away because I can't help enough people one-on-one. So what I start with is helping men to decipher very, very simply whether or not they're in or out of the stress response. That's where we always start, okay? So the most simple way of doing this is what we call either like muscle relaxation or self-regulation. And it's so ridiculously simple that like I still have a hard time believing that it works. Like I'm like, this is too simple. But really all it is you want me to walk you through it really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So close your eyes. And all you're just doing right now is scanning your body and noticing where you are holding muscle tension. And muscle tension is just a sign that you are in a stressed state, that you're in fight or flight. Like think about like if you were about to get into a car crash or something, like right before that moment happens and you become conscious of it, or your brain becomes conscious of it, your body tenses up, like it braces for impact. And that's what happens when we go into fight or flight. If we're not running and we're not fighting, our muscles just kind of like tense and they stay that way. So scan your body and just notice where, and Joe, I can just see in your brow line that you're like squeezing your brows.
Yeah, I was about to say it's right there.
I'm out of here. I'm always tense. You said find the areas where you tense, and my whole body's like this while my eyes are closed.
It's like
you're like my whole body's tense, so I can't actually decipher whether or not I'm tense.
Right.
Okay, continue. Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, good. Okay, so now what I want you to do is to just try to relax all of the tension in your body as much as you can. Just as consciously as you can perceive the muscle tension, try to just release it. And you're going to notice that you're holding tension in places that, like, typically two things will happen. You'll either notice that you can't notice your muscle tension because it's so ingrained and so a part of you and so automatic, or you'll notice that you have muscle tension that you're like, whoa, I squeeze like the back of my neck all the time. Like you'll have it in weird places that you never perceived before. Okay, so if you're feeling that, like, give me some feedback. Are you feeling tension in your body? Like, can you perceive it?
I feel tension on my wrist for some odd reason, and on my toes. It's weird on my toes, and of course my face, of course. The dead giveaway.
Yeah, and so what I have my guys do starting out is to set a timer that goes off every 5 minutes, an interval timer goes off every 5 minutes, and it literally just goes like ding, that's it. And it just reminds you to take 1 to 2 seconds to relax your entire body. And there are multiple reasons, layers of reasons of why I start here. The first reason is because when you work only with the mind and changing belief systems, it doesn't translate to the nervous system. The nervous system does not speak in language. It is a different part of the brain. The limbic and the primal area of the brain do not speak in language or like affirmations. It speaks in sensation. So we have to communicate in sensation. So when we communicate, relaxing the entire body, what we're saying to the nervous system is, I know you're perceiving some danger around you, but actually we're safe. And the nervous system's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like log that. I'm suspicious, but I'm gonna log it. Okay. And that's why we do it every 5 minutes throughout the day, because you start to rewire your automatic nervous system response to the perceived safety or danger of your environment. Because most, 99.999% of the time, you are safe. But because of our conditioning, we're taught you're not safe. You're running from your boss, and your girlfriend's going to break up with you, and you don't have enough money to pay your bills. And so even though you're physically in a safe environment, your body is just like bracing for impact all the time, and you're pumping out these stress hormones. Second reason is the stress hormones. So this is like something that most people don't know, and when they learn it, they're like, oh my God. So we've got these vital needs, right? We've got physical needs, and these are very obvious that like if we don't receive them, we die, right? Food, shelter, water, sleep, oxygen, right? You die without these things very quickly. But psychological needs are equally as important. And people are like, I literally had a client the other day say, oh yeah, you don't die from those. And I was like, no, you do, just a really slow, very slow, painful death. So without the ability to have physical touch, co-regulate, feel like you're part of a tribe, feel like you're loved, your body cannot produce those biochemicals, and your nervous system doesn't deactivate. So you're in a state of stress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which we are not built for. And that is where 95% of disease comes from. So things like MS, Alzheimer's, these really weird like autoimmune diseases that we didn't have 100 years ago. Because 100 years ago, we still had a semblance of a tribe. We didn't have TV, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't things like wedge and separate us. We had like a community of people that we could rely on. And now we don't really have that anymore. We've really become very, very isolated. Like you could Amazon Prime everything and never see another soul again as long as you live, if you chose to do that. And so we stay in a chronic state of stress. And what happens when we go into the stress response is that our systems that are not vital, like in that moment to run away from a tiger or fight a tiger, get put on low power mode. So your reproductive system, your digestion, your immune system, your lymphatic, anything that is drawing energy that does not need to be using energy in the moment that you are running or fighting for your life gets put on low power mode. And those things stay on low power mode until you move back into a state of rest and digest and nervous system regulation, which simply just means that your nervous system senses that you are safe. Okay, so that's the second reason. The third reason I start here is because I'm trying to help my client feel the difference between what's true and what is fear. Okay, because there's a really big difference between the two. When your body goes into the stress response, your logical thinking turns off. Okay, so you don't actually know what's really real. And like those biochemicals of fear, fight or flight, those stress hormones really make you believe that you'll believe some crazy shit when you're in fight or flight. Like you will believe some crazy shit. So that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing is, by doing this muscle relaxation every single day, you are bringing down the level of stress in your body. You're rewiring your nervous system to be in a state of healing and growth, rest and digest. And that is the place where you can access your deep masculine core, your deep masculine wisdom and power and rawness and primalness. So it's a very simple exercise, but it is how we get men to move out of fear and a state of paralysis and back into their raw, powerful being. So do the muscle relaxation every 5 minutes.
That's super cool, because what you just said is like a form of like meditation and kind of going into your body, and that's not seen as super masculine, right? But when you put it in that manner, it's like now you're tapping into your true power, your true self, when you're taking control of the way you feel and making it clear that that I'm not in a fearful state. I'm not in a, I'm not, there's no danger. You know, I'm becoming more in tune with myself. And it's crazy that there's so much power in something that simple.
Something so simple. And this is the trick, right? This is the illusion. What society says and what we teach little boys is feel the fear and ignore it. So men are living from this place of like, not truth, right? Like they're not allowed to say I'm scared, right? And own that. But that is what being truly masculine is. That deep masculine essence is owning what's happening for you and saying it's okay for me to experience this. And if anybody here has a problem with that, that's on you. Like that is what being truly masculine is. It's having a train, and that train is powerfully moving in the direction of whatever is true for you, and it cannot be knocked off course by anyone or anything, because that's what's true, right? And so when you drop deep underneath the fear, right, and you connect to that raw core, that powerful groundedness, because to me masculine is groundedness. A man stands in the center of a tornado and he cannot be moved, and the tornado is essentially feminine, wild feminine, right? So like that is what true masculine is. It isn't like I'm afraid but I'm going to do it anyway. It's I can experience this and I'm in control. Masculine is control, right? So if you can control the stress response in your body, if you can control, you know, how regulated or dysregulated your nervous system is, you are tapping into the masculine.
But see, that's what you know, I'll just say that culturally where I come from, and I'll maybe even say where we come from, we don't even know what fear is because we're taught at an early age that if you have fear, you're going to be targeted. So it's not even, you know, a space where fear is even an acknowledged emotion. It's you're either calm or you're angry.
Yeah.
There, you know, and anxiety is the root of fear and anger, but at the same time, we don't have a label for it. Fear is for punks. Like you don't,
Yeah.
you know, and so that's the part that I would find it to be interesting, especially in the space that when we created the podcast for our, you know, with our community in mind, is that how do we even acknowledge that fear is a part of our everyday function without, because we're trying to get to the masculine, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like it's just gonna be that's just the first thing that I thought about when you were saying it. It was like everything you said is true. It's just like, man.
And the way that we do that is by using different language. Because what I notice with working with men is I would say, you know, in my mind, because like to me, it's like everything comes back to either love or fear, or truth or fear,
right?
And or stress response, right? So like somebody's coming to me and they're saying, well, blah, 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 right? And I said, well, what are you truly afraid of? Oh, I'm not afraid of anything. It's not that I'm afraid of anything. I'm like, no, you are, because like your nervous system is dysregulated. So there is a sense of a threat. Like there is fear in your system, right? And in like I had to stop using that language. And that's why I switched from fear to, and like we can talk about fear with people who are more highly conscious, right? So like you guys you put this podcast together, like you guys are very conscious, right? And we can talk about fear and what that feels like, and you guys understand that. But somebody who hasn't done any work and they're coming just from a straight place of conditioning their whole life, and you say to a guy, well, what are you afraid of? And it's like, oh no, I'm not afraid of anything, you know, I'm just anxious. And it's like, honey, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So what I've done is I've changed the language. Once you start talking, see, men need to feel safe in the logic. When you start going off on feelings and this and that, but you start saying, oh, here's how the nervous system works, regulated or dysregulated. And here's what causes that. What's happening for you? Oh yeah, like my girlfriend left me. You know? So it's just about the language, I find. That you have to find words that make a guy feel safe to go there.
Okay. All right, look, we're gonna switch gears just a little bit. That was some real deep shit, by the way. I'm fucking
very deep.
Okay, look, we talked about the man that has issues in bed. We talked about the man that you know does it a lot, and you know what comes along with that. Now let's talk about the man that can't get bitches. Like he cannot just he just can't get the women. Like women don't want him. He doesn't understand why. He don't have any kind of,
He got no game.
he just got no game, no kind of presence. Let's talk about that kind of me.
Cool, yeah. So I need more information about this guy. Is he just like a complete nerd and like total virgin, like can't get chicks, or is he like always in the friend zone? Like he's had a few girlfriends, he's had sex,
I think
but
it's
like
a friend
he's
zone
always
guy.
in
I
the
think it's
friend
more.
zone.
I think it's
Friend
more the
zone,
friend
okay.
zone.
Friend zone sounds good. Friend zone sounds good.
Okay.
The nerds get
So-
it.
Yeah, they get some Yu-Gi-Oh pussies.
A lot of women are sapiosexual. They like intelligence. So
The geeks gonna hit you with that move. Geeks hit you with
Right.
that move.
No,
they get
man,
all the
look,
girls to go on their
and what I
dance.
found is women geeks are freaky as hell. So they,
Oh yeah.
that's
Oh,
another
yeah.
piece of it,
that's a whole subculture, baby. You understand?
Yeah, it gets crazy.
Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. Oh my god, Yu-Gi-Oh pussy, that like really hit me. That's hilarious. So, oh my god, so I literally just did a live on this on my Instagram because this is like one of my favorite topics.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the reason why anybody ends up in the friend zone is because they are lacking confidence within themselves, and they also fear rejection. So what ends up happening is that they go into the feminine and also try to attract the feminine. So the way that I describe masculine and feminine energies is that masculine is action taking, future oriented, planned out, control, leadership, protection, like in the form of boundaries and physical protection as well, and direction. And so like masculine energy is like a train, and it invites the feminine on. Okay, the feminine is the complete opposite. So play, dance, flow, surrender, and trust. So masculine is truth, feminine is trust. Masculine is control, feminine is surrender, right? They're total opposites. And when they come together, they create what we call sexual polarity. So if you imagine this in the form of like getting a plane off the ground, if you want to have like sexual polarity, this is like getting a plane off the ground and it's smoothly flying through the air. Two people in the feminine do not take action, right? You need an action taker and a non-action taker. And so if you imagine two people in the feminine sitting in a plane, the plane's not going to get off the ground. Okay, so what pushes a guy into the feminine, and by the way, so I like to clarify, just because you're in a male body does not mean that you are masculine. You can be feminine, right? So like, if you are in a male body, but you are attracted to the masculine, then your natural essence is feminine. So I like to kind of clarify that. So like, I'm just speaking in like hetero terms. So if you are a man and you are attracted to the feminine and you are in the feminine, it is because you are moving yourself into a surrender state based on fear. Okay. I don't want to take action because she's going to reject me. So let's just kind of hang around her and see if she takes action. We don't want that because then it's backwards polarity. So you've got two people in a plane and the plane's not even going anywhere because neither person is taking action. That is what the friend zone is. Okay. And then if you've got two people in the masculine, the plane gets off the ground because like we're taking action, but eventually like it will crash because you can't have two people like, flying this plane. Like you need to have one person. Like,
And
okay,
two people trying to land. Two people trying to land is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the friend zone really just comes down to lack of confidence in the self. And like I find through like the work that I do with guys who have this specific issue or feel like they don't get any matches on dating apps, they don't get like every woman that they meet rejects them, it's because they don't feel themselves. Like if you don't want to have sex with you, why would anybody else want to have sex with you? Right. So like when I work with, my first thing that I do with guys like this is, and I just did this with a client and he's just like, why are you doing this to me? But it's like I force them to literally take 1,000 pictures of themselves and find 5 photos where they're like, okay, I look kind of cute here. Like I look kind of cute here. Because typically their profiles are like these horrible pictures where they just, and like the energy, we get the energy from women. It's like, this guy hates himself. Ew, why would I want to date him?
If he hates himself, he'll hate me.
I know, right? It's like,
Yeah.
So I have a question. This is something that I think is kind of untalked about, or really not talked about a lot. And you had mentioned earlier how you were friends with a lot of men. And we talked about the friend zone guy, how he gets put in the friend zone, but what about the guy that has attractive female friends that he's not interested in? Is there something wrong with that? Or is that just a guy that's knows what he likes? Like,
No, I think
and
that's really healthy.
I'm talking about me. Like,
I
literally, I have grown up, I've always had male and female friends. The female friends, other guys thought were hella attractive. And they're like, man, you ain't smashing that. I'm like, nah, that's my homegirl. Like, one of my best friends is a woman. And is there something, what is that? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. People make it, they make a joke out of it, but to me, it's normal. But
It's really healthy. It's very, very healthy. Being able to create secure attachments with people that you're not having sex with, or even like it's very difficult for people to create secure attachments with people they are having sex with. But to create secure attachments with anybody is really, really healthy. And like, I first of all don't think that men have enough friends to begin with. Most guys like barely have a single friend that they can talk to about things that are true for them. So I think it's extremely healthy. I think more people need to live that way, especially when you get into relationship. You've got like this, person who's like, you're not allowed to have any friends of the opposite sex, which is to me absolutely absurd. We need social abundance. Yeah. We need social abundance for our nervous system to be regulated.
Social abundance. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
I have the right to social abundance-ness.
I'm stealing it, Justina. I'm letting you
So
know.
I'm going to the club and doing some social abundance-ness.
And you can steal that from my coach, because my coach is the one that taught me that. So
okay.
Shout out to Will. Yeah.
Shout out Will. Social abundance, baby.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's really, really healthy. And like, even just like when I talk to you, like your energy, like the fact that like, I know you're questioning, and this is what most people do. They come to me and they're like, I do this. Is that weird? And I'm like, no. So like, it's just that old conditioning that's like, what's really, like, I'm a dude. I'm supposed to just be having sex with all these women. But like, we're supposed to, like, one of my friends had said to me, like, you need to like build out your flavors of people in your life. Like we typically just go for like, oh, I love chocolate, so I'm just going for chocolate and that's all I'm ever going to eat, when really like you need like a weird flavor. You need like pistachio, and you need to get like a lick of pistachio once in a while, right? And so like we have this kind of like orchestra of people, right? And like without all of the instruments, you don't get the richness of that experience. You need to have people that are kind of surface level, that you just go to like a ball game with, and you need people that you can literally touch each other's souls, and then you need people that you can have sex with, and you need people that like you can just hug and know that there isn't going to be any sex, right? Like you need all of that, and we're just taught like, oh, you're just going to have one person, and you're not going to have like be allowed to have anybody else, and you have to have sex with that person, and you have to be friends with that person, you have to be soulmates with that person, you got to be mom and dad with that person.
Everything.
It's just like,
they're everything and all.
Like, you're my all in all. It's like, bro, like that shit is exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Last thing I can think of, I know because we got to wrap.
We got to wrap. We got to wrap. We can talk to you all day, but go ahead.
I was about to say, so what do you tell your clients about? It's not just so much about their performance or their belief system, but how does it, I guess, connect to who they're choosing? You know what I mean? Who's a good mate for this person that now that they found this newfound version of themselves, what's a healthy mate for that person? Do you help them kind of define the attributes?
Yeah. So once we get clear on what's really true for them, and we get through, the sea of garbage belief systems that they've accumulated their whole life,
right,
and we really get down to like what's true for them, then comes the work of creating a blueprint for the man that you really want to be, right? So like I'll have clients start researching men to look up to, men who have certain traits that they really desire, and they'll start like collecting these characteristics and creating a blueprint for who they want to be. And that's where we start the work of like, let's measure this, you know, let's stop, let's take you out of the failure zone and start showing you a reflection of yourself that you're really proud of, that you feel you have succeeded in, right? And then once we get there and they're ready to start dating, we kind of do the same thing, right? Like I have this kind of list of questions that I go through where I ask, you know, a guy like, you know, who do you desire to be with, right? Like try to describe the woman that you desire. Half the time they have no idea who that person is. Same with like not knowing who they want to be, right? So we create a blueprint for that as well. Like, what characteristics do you desire? Like what is really truly important in your heart to co-create with another human being, right? And then after that we start going through, you know, do you feel you deserve to be with a woman like this? Do you feel that a woman like this would even be attracted to you? You know, like these are questions, because it's like, we can, most of the time guys, they don't even want to imagine what they want because they automatically feel that it's not available to them. So that's why we do the work simultaneously of creating the identity, stepping into the identity, and then being the person that can attract what you actually desire, right? So it's less, for me, it's less about, and the way I work is kind of less about, there's just a lot of layers to that part, you know, because there's so many layers to how a relationship, like relationship dynamics, masculine, feminine energy dynamics, sexual polarity, you know, unconditional, like being able to give and receive unconditional love, which is like my highest value. Like that is what that's my thing up here. That's the thing I'm always trying to practice. And that is something that is very difficult for most people to digest, to be able to accept all parts of a person, regardless of whether or not those parts fulfill your needs, is like, I don't want to do that. You know, like most people are like, I want something in return, you know? And so everything that I'm doing, everything that I guide my clients to is eventually to get to what I believe the pinnacle is, which is just absolute unconditional love for the self and others. And living in a regulated state. So we kind of have these different pieces that we work with around their identity, who they truly want, if they believe they can get them, cleaning that up, attracting the woman. And then once you attract the woman, then starting to lay the foundation of all of what I call like the keys of a fulfilling relationship: spontaneity and stability, secure attachment, masculine, feminine energy polarity, you know, pacing. We all have different paces. I mean, it's on and on. This is life's work, is love, really. So there's no end game. It's just to love and open your heart as so totally as you possibly can.
Hey,
so I hope that answers your question.
No, I mean that. Look,
you opened the door. That's what.
I have one quick question. If I can sneak this in. It's about porn. We got to talk about porn. So
yes, love it.
With porn, do you recommend, when people are truly trying to embrace who they are, right, and their innermost sexual person, whoever that person is, and trying to embrace that person, right? Do you recommend? Do you see porn as a way to actually increase the person's, you know, consciousness of sex, or do you think it kind of dilutes it, pollutes it, or
desensitizes it?
Yeah. And do you think it adds to a unit, you know, trying to experience a more special sexual experience with one another, or do you feel like it also pollutes it? Like, what do you think about like digital sex and all that stuff?
So everything in moderation, really. I mean, if you are watching porn and you have negative belief systems about porn and you jerk off and you orgasm and right afterwards you feel shame and guilt, porn is not a great vehicle for you. And if you really want to keep the porn, then it's about rewiring your relationship to porn so that you can watch it and afterwards feel good about yourself. Because that's all it comes down to, is what is happening in your nervous system when you're engaging in certain things. My personal perspective is that porn is something that creates a wedge. It's something, and this is what I kind of see in clients and working with because I have like a porn detox course and stuff too. So like I do work a lot with porn addiction, you know, aka not getting your needs fulfilled. And what I see over and over is that it is just fear of vulnerability, fear of intimacy, and having kind of a low ceiling of intimacy. So guys will hit a certain level of intimacy with their partner, and then they're like I'm too exposed, I'm too seen, like I need to go back into not being seen. So like porn is really like, in those cases, it's a way to engage in a sexual experience without being seen at all. Like you're literally watching other people and they can't see you. And you can experience that by like jerking off, and you can be part of that, but you are not exposed, you are not vulnerable in any way. Sex itself is, to me, it's an experience of, I say it's like an experience of touching God. So like to me, like we come from one energy, like we're like a stream, like a river, like before we come here. And then like you take a water bottle and you fill up the water into the water bottle and you like put the top on, and like that's a human being, and we become separate in this like 3D physical reality, and we have this experience of separateness.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. And then like when you die, your water goes back into the one, and we're not separate anymore. And so for me, when I have sex with somebody, it is an experience of going home. And that can be like, you are, so it's not just about being naked, like your soul is naked. So that can be a deeply, deeply uncomfortable experience for many men, right? To be seen on that level, or to be loved on that level, or to be intimate on that level, that they're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go back to watching like kinky porn because like I don't want to be seen right now.
Look at Joe
So it kind of just depends on where you're like, where are you coming at, you know, the porn. If you're like, ooh, I'm horny right now, I want to jerk off, it'd be fun to like watch something interesting, and it doesn't affect you, it doesn't dysregulate you, and it doesn't put a wedge between you and your partner, do it. But if it's causing dysregulation and a disruption in secure attachments in your life, then it's time to like rewire that or stay away from it.
You can't cold turkey it because that
yes,
doesn't work.
yes.
No, you can't do that.
Well, look,
that was just
Justina.
That was beautiful, Joe. That was
that
was
beautiful.
No, that was real. She
That
said,
was beautiful.
Sex is touching God. I was like, damn. But look, you know, I don't want to touch.
I got you. Orgasm.
I'm gonna touch God later. God damn it.
Yeah.
Look.
We gonna touch. I mean, talk to God.
Look, Justina, please, before we get off, tell people where they can find you. You know what you got going on, any kind of programs you got. I mean, I saw that you were saying you kind of pack with your one-on-ones right now, but you know, I'm sure there's some will open up in the future. So go ahead, let people know where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. So, I really post mostly on Instagram, which is idiotic because Instagram shut me down last year. So I'm a little afraid that I'm going to lose all my fan base. But you can find me on Instagram at the.justina.victoria or on my website, justinavictoria.com or sexualmasterynyc.com. I'm getting ready to release my my online course, my online program called Erect for erectile dysfunction. I've got my porn detox course. And yeah, I do, like you said, Sam, I do one-on-one, and I'm currently packed, and I'm still doing consultations, and I'm like, all right, I'll try to find a place for you. And I'm like, so, but I do have openings like periodically because people finish up and they, you know, they get on with it. So
move on with their lives, right?
Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you. This is like the best.
We need to have a conference.
Thank you, man.
Yes.
We need to have a conference.
I know, right?
Open door policy. You can come back.
With that being said, guys, if you guys like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to it. It's You Good Bruh Podcast on IG, Facebook, yougoodbruh.com. You can stream from there. We're gonna be doing blogs soon, that sort of thing. And I mean, I think that's a wrap right there, man. I am Sam Dupe, and I am good.
Yeah, that's a word. Yeah, and I'm Taylor McHale, and I'm good.
My name is Joe Dupe, and treat yourself like you are amazing. Embrace your quality of living, increase your quality of living, and I am good. Joe
Hell
Dupe,
yeah.
and I'm good.
Justina, you get to go.
I am Justina Victoria, and I am good.
All right. And just like that.
Damn.